Okay, so there's my coffee. I already made my coffee. My coffee today was made in a percolator that we wound up with. See that? Things in boxes. So it claims that it can make a 4-cup minimum, but when I did 4 cups, it was unable to come to perk. It came to a boil, but it was unable to perk, so I had to put another cup in, so it actually makes 5 cups minimum, which is too much coffee. The grounds absorbed at least a cup, so I do that because my grounds are too tight, too finely ground. Anyway, I'm going to take the last 1.5 cups that's in there because it's cold now, and I'm going to make a quick coffee syrup. And I'll probably blend it with some of the orange syrup that's left because that's getting a little long on the legs. It's getting old. So I'm just... Syrups are made with a 1-to-1. 1 cup liquid. It's like totally mangled from being in a box too long. Anyway, 1 cup liquid to 1 cup sugar. That is a simple syrup. It doesn't matter what your liquid is. If you're using a cream or something with fats, then you're going to want to do 1.5 cups liquid to 1 cup sugar. I did not measure that. I should have, but I didn't. That needs to get washed next. Because the first thing I'm going to do is grab what's left of my orange ginger syrup, which is still amazingly yummy. That's all orange pith, or peel. And I'm just going to put that into the coffee. And that's probably going to be my syrup. Probably not going to do anything more than that because the orange syrup was a bit too thick. That's nice. That's really nice. Sweet. And then I'm going to jar that back up and it goes into my coffee. So coffee into coffee. Yeah, I do that. I use International Foods instant coffee, flavored instant coffees as creamer for coffee. So how you doing? How's life? We have 2 months of hang time. So now instead of orange syrup, I have orange coffee syrup. It'll have a slightly lower shelf life because you would think that the acid in the coffee and the acid in the orange would make it a longer shelf life, but I have found that when you put coffee and orange together, something interacts and it shortens the shelf life and it starts to get rancid coffee flavor after about 2 weeks. I have about 1/2 cup left. I'll use in my coffee today as I go, or in my cocoa today. So we have about 2 months of hang time. Hang time is the period of time between when you light the fuse and you realize that the dud is safe, or when you light the fuse and it blows up. But it specifically refers to things like crimped fuses where, okay, you light the fuse and it's going boom. That's how it's supposed to go. But with hang time it goes. We all know not to reach down and pick that up, right? We all know it can still explode, right? That's hang time. You're waiting for it to be a dud. And the time frame you wait is until you either throw it in water with tongs, stomp on it with your boot, and break it up, or the next morning. That's hang time. A lot of people that I consider smarter than me, who follow politics as a living, are seriously worried. Now, I have the screen cap and I showed the hubby because when I have an outrageous claim, I like at least one person to know I'm telling the truth. I knew on election night that Biden had won, or most likely had won and the election should have been called. Because the Secret Service knew. Because they change designations and they change airspaces, and a friend of mine a very old friend of mine, who used to be a spook and is now a political hack, got the heads up from somebody else and sent me a screenshot showing that Biden, according to the Secret Service, was president-elect at 11:45 p.m. on election night. But Trump called Fox News and threw a screaming fit, and the election wasn't called. And everybody was very, very careful. I'm not going to call it, you call it. I'm not going to call it, you call it. Everybody was very careful because they knew lawsuits are coming. Okay. Right after the 2016 election, I had a reporter friend, an acquaintance of mine, who worked for a magazine. It's really hard to explain without going into the details, but you can't go into the details without betraying information. And on an open YouTube feed, even though I only have 6 and 7 viewers, it's not worth it. I have a friend, a reporter, who works for a very niche magazine, still works for them, who had access to the Trump team in 2016 and was one of the alt pages, was responsible for one of the alt pages. And his comment then was, this guy's insane and he's going to start a nuclear war. This friend of mine is still with that newspaper and still has access because they don't know he's behind one of the alt pages. He toned it down a lot. He did it for like 5 months and then decided it was an unjustifiable risk, period. So he hasn't actually published on that alt page in a very long time. But anyway, he's of the opinion, and has been of the opinion, that A, Jared Kushner runs the country. How's that? And B, that they may very well start a war. They may very well try to launch a nuke, try something. So that's the one side. Then you have the left, all celebrating. And it's not time to celebrate yet. The election has not been certified, which means nobody's won yet. It's not certified. Every state has to certify. Once all the states are certified, yes, I think Biden will win. Absolutely, I've thought that from day one. There was a good chance Trump would win based on lying to the polls. It's turning out that people in the red states lied to the polls too because they were afraid of backlash. I think that's funny. It means everybody's lying to the polls because everybody's afraid of their neighbor right now. Once the election is certified, then it has to go to the Electoral College. If you've been political your whole life, you've been watching every 4 years when they say, we may have a constitutional crisis. This is the closest it is. This is pretty damn close. We may have a constitutional crisis. I don't think the Republicans have the stomach for it. If the Republicans lose the Senate, and it's vaguely possible still that that will happen with the count coming in. Vaguely possible. If the Republicans lose the Senate, then I think we could have a constitutional crisis. Okay. That said, I think it's much more likely that we're going to have copycats of the Oklahoma City bombing. I think it's much more likely we're going to have shootings. That kind of shit. Okay. But most of the right-wingers out there are paper tigers. They always have been. An actor I follow has been trying to talk Trumpers into coming onto his live feed because he's a libertarian and he's like, I'll take you on my live feed. You can express your opinion. I'll listen to you. No one will go on. They post rude, obnoxious comments and he's like, oh, hey, this person just posted this incredible. Wow, that's really hurtful. Hey, you want to come on? Hold on a second. There, I sent you an invite. Come on. None of them will come on. Not a single one. Because the people I see on the right don't want to have a conversation. They don't want to have reconciliation. They want to be allowed to spew whatever they spew and not be held accountable. And not be held accountable face to face. They want to be able to tell you what they think and you can't respond. That's been family dinner. If y'all have conservative family, it's how it's been. They don't want the conversation. They'll go back under their rock for 4 years and come back. Okay, nothing's changing. So you have the left doing their huge big celebrations. Biden's a really good Republican candidate. Kamala Harris is a really good Republican candidate. They are lousy liberal candidates. And the left thinks they won something. They got a candidate. Biden-Harris is slightly to the right of Reagan. Okay? Slightly to the right of first election, Reagan-Bush. That's how far we've shifted. If the left wants to celebrate, the left needs to start pushing. They're not going to. Then you have... I had to read them all to Michael last night, to the husband. The white guys in my feed who consider themselves liberals and consider themselves allies. 6, 7 of them. It's time for reconciliation. I can forgive my friends for supporting him for this. And they'll list off all the things Trump did wrong. From children in cages to I don't know. They'll list off all these things, to COVID. They won't list racism. And they can forgive their family for supporting this. And I'm on my third one. I'm like, Michael, what is missing from these I can forgives? And Michael goes, racism. I'm like, yeah. They don't see it because it doesn't affect them. They're white guys. They're older white guys. There's like 7 of them yesterday, and they're all older white guys. They're all writers. They can forgive all the things Trump did because they can't see the racism. Had a bunch of white women doing the same thing, but theirs is on the empathy level. We have to reconcile. We have to give them a chance to have their feelings. It's like, no, we don't. They said, screw your feelings. Throw it back at them. I grew up with a father who believes Catholics go straight to hell and Jews are the Antichrist or the Christ killers, and we won't even say what he says about black people and Mexicans, and had scars on his arms that he would proudly show you about when he threw a burning tire on a Mexican person. I grew up with that level of hate crime. Okay? You don't have to forgive. You don't have to forget. They mean it when they see it. Trump emboldened them and allowed them to say out loud what they've always thought, and they're going to keep thinking. You know? Anyway, we're in a period of hang time waiting for the other shoe to drop. I made orange coffee syrup, so I'm kind of happy. I'm barely standing here. You can't tell, but I'm leaning against the counter, and that's what it's doing to my hand from leaning, because I can barely stand. I'm trying to throw a kidney stone, and I don't know why. So I'll show you my hair, okay, because y'all are wondering. Okay, do you see how thin this is right here versus how thick this is? Okay, do you see how thin this is? I'm trying to do a reveal. Do you see how thin this is compared to here? The top of my head had gotten thinner than these 2 spots here. So what you do, okay, this was thinner than this. Do you see how it thickens up? Okay, do you see how thick it is back there? I don't know if you can see any of this. Okay, so you shave with a straight razor, straight down. You take it down to white walls is what it's called. See my scar? There's a scar there. There's a scar right here, but I don't think you can see it. And then there's that scar line right there. Anyway, when I first shaved this, when I buzzed it, this was faded looking, so you had that clear spot. But when I shaved it with the razor, this area right here had no stubble. It was smooth and glossy, like there was no hair there, because the hair was that thin. Okay? So I'm going to shave it one more time because it's still kind of light right here. And I'm going to shave these spots here too. But you just take a spot like this, you know, your visual. Do not shave right here. You will grow sideburns. Do you see how that's all patchy and bad? There's a scar right there. Can you see? It changes the lighting and then you can't see. Anyway, you just take like this and you shave it clear. I mean, scratch with shaving cream. And it grows back 3 to 5 times as thick. And it buys you 5 to 7 years on female pattern and male pattern baldness. And you can do it every couple of years and keep the baldness away. And 80% of baldness is preventable that way. Okay? If you have incredibly thin hair on top, baby fine hair on top, shave it. Let it grow back. Shave it, let it grow back. Shave it, let it grow back. Just make a pattern of it every couple of years. And it will come back thicker every single time. Do not shave your eyebrows. They do not come back thicker. Trust me on this one. Okay? Okay? But the hair on the top of your head will. And at some point it quits working. Just so you know. At some point I will shave it and that glossy spot will stay glossy. And then I'll have a bald spot in the center. Oh well. I lived for years with wigs. Wearing wigs everywhere and wearing hats everywhere. Years. Now, I've been through chemo 3 times, 4 times. Yeah. Let me count. I've been through chemo 4 times. For 3 different cancers. So, am I going to go through chemo again for another cancer? Probably at some point. Knock on wood. Don't knock on wood, the camera's on. That was stupid. Anyway, it's 16 minutes. I wish there was a way to go on social media and say, you know how we always used to say, if you don't vote, you can't complain? I wish we could change that narrative to, if you don't volunteer, you can't complain. If you're not involved, you can't complain. Because right about now is when people should be signing up for their local, whatever politicians they want, you know? I find it funny because I'm not a socialist. I have socialistic tendencies, but I'm not a socialist. I'm not a communist. I'm not technically a leftist, although I line up more with leftists these days than not. There have been times when I was a Republican. I've never been alt-right. And there have been times when I've been a Democrat. There used to be the Constitutionalist Party, which was, I believe in the Constitution of the United States of America as written and amended by law. That's what I am. Unfortunately, the Constitutional Party took out written and amended and just said, I believe in the Constitution as written. Well, if you don't accept the amendments, then you don't accept my right to vote. So I can't back you anymore. You know? My throat is so tight. And there's like 5 blue jays in my yard right now. And if I could turn that camera and show you, I would, but I know for a fact it won't turn and show you. It'll just show you me reflected in the glass. Anyway, before the election, we checked out the DSA, which is the Democratic Socialist Party, which is Bernie's party. Nice people. Some really good people in there. Some flakes. One guy that totally pissed me off. But nice people. We may get more involved with them going forward. I think that the Bernie people shot themselves in the leg by holding on to Bernie exclusively and not using Bernie to promote somebody younger. That's what I think. That said, there's the Socialist Rifle Association, which is nationwide, and they have a chapter here in Salem, and we might check out them. But I'm not a socialist, so I kind of hesitate on those. We may go, I don't know. Michael wants to do Green Party. I kind of think the Green Party's lame. I agree with their platform. but I think they're lame, and I think environmentalists always shade a little too close to racism for my taste, because they do. They don't understand they do. They definitely shade to classism. If you're not wearing exclusively hemp clothing, and you haven't gotten rid of all of your polyester clothing because of microfibers, and you're not drinking pure organic, hand-fed, hand-extracted hemp milk, then you're just really not an environmentalist now, are you? See, I can't do that. I can't do that. I buy what's cheap because it's what I can afford. This was given to me by somebody. Okay, 90% of my clothes are hand-me-downs. So kept them out of the landfill, and I'm not going to put them in the landfill to wear the hemp. As things fall apart and go away, yeah, I might start buying cotton and hemp and probably not hemp, I hate hemp, but linen. But most of the people I've met in the Green Party come across like a college vegan. You know? So that's a turn off for me. So I don't know what we'll do. But I do know that between now and January we will be involved in something, and moving forward we will stay involved, because we were involved in the past and we've been involved way too many other things, and I'm running out of steam. Running out of steam because my throat's tight. It hurts to stand. I did what I came in to do. It's been 20 minutes and y'all don't want to listen much longer. And it's fuzzy. I gotta keep trimming this so that it grows out at the same height as this. You know? I wish you could see the scars. I have these huge scars back here, but without somebody else handling the camera, I can't show them to you. And every time I give the hubby the camera, can you see them? I don't know. Every time I give hubby the camera, he does this stuff and thinks it's funny and he's being artistic, and it just pisses me off, and then I'm really not flattering of myself because I get snappy and I gotta work on being snappy. And right before COVID, we were looking at joining a Buddhist temple for meditation day, and yeah, that's obviously out for a while. Blah, 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 blah. Frog. I'm in a mood. I'll talk to you later. Bye-bye.